Welcome to the Secret Underground Laboratory Recovery and Salvage, where rude mechanicals do magic. Hello, I'm Bronze Age, Director of the Secret Underground Laboratory Recovery and Salvage. And today we're at the lamp bench where we've got a train wreck. Now this is what's known in the lamp business as a high-end decorator lamp. It doesn't have any definite style. It doesn't actually resemble anything in real life, although these handles on here mean it's some kind of jug, but no liquid container ever had these kinds of geometric shapes on it. It's just made to be pretty and be pleasing, and it's made of pot metal, which is plated with brass in this base here, and that's where the problem comes in. Pot metal is fairly brittle, and the way this lamp is put together, you've got to squeeze the top and the bottom, which is going to put a lot of stress on here. It starts to distort, pulls up, and which of course makes it loose. And then somebody starts twisting the socket, which curls the cord up and pulls this piece up even higher, and eventually gets to the point where it just snaps off, and we've got the situation we have here. So before we can rewire this lamp and put it back together with new hardware, we're going to have to fix this problem. I always found it kind of strange that even though a cord twists up like this, when you turn the socket trying to get everything back together tight again, but it never untwists as the lamp comes loose. I'm going to make the repair with a piece of steel. This is scrap from the same stuff they use for making metal buildings. It comes primed, and I've ground the primer off one side. This piece is going to be thrown away, but I need it for the moment so I can get the center, get this lined up with the hole, and then mark it so I'll have my pipe back straight when I start putting it back together. My preferred material for this repair is fiberglass body compound. It's made for repairing Corvettes and boats and stuff like that. But it's also very strong when used for repairing metal lamps. It's basically your regular fender bondo, but it's got little pieces of fiberglass chopped up in it, which gives it extra structural strength. And it's a two-part, so I've got to mix this up thoroughly, just like any epoxy. The mixing is the critical thing, and since the hardener is a slightly different color, you can tell when you've got it pretty well run through, but you actually can't mix it too much. Another thing is, even though you really only want to make a small batch, at least so it won't start to harden before you've got it all applied, you always want to make a little more than you think you need, because you can really difficult to start mixing up a little more before you get the whole thing put together. I'm going to put a generous amount on here, trying not to get it on my fingers, because this piece here is so irregular shaped. I need quite a bit to bed this down, so there'll be good contact all the way around. And I'll squeeze it down till it's making contact at these corners, and let this sit for about an hour. It'll be as hard as it's ever going to get, and we'll put this lamp back together. The damage has been repaired, and I'm going to reassemble it in a way that takes the stress off of these brittle pot metal parts. This starts with blue thread lock and putting a nut above and below the pipe. And what that's going to do is lock the pipe to this plate on the bottom, which was the first place where it came loose. Then, when it's all together, I'll lock the socket to the top of the pipe, and that will take all the tension off of the pieces in the middle, because all I need to do is just have them tight enough that they're not going to rattle, but I'm not trying to squeeze them down in order to keep the whole lamp together. The base has a hole in it, so that definitely goes to the back. Then look at this piece and try to find the one with the least amount of blemishes, which in this case I think is kind of a tie. Make sure that it's nice and seated. This piece goes in here, get it down. We've got a nice little check ring. And then we have this piece of copper or brass tubing. It's going to be the neck. And that's a point where the blue thread lock is very important, because to get this tight without scratching that old patina on that brass, very difficult. But getting it as tight as I can by hand with the blue thread lock on it, and the fact that the pipe is locked to the base, means that we don't have to worry about it. That's tight enough for our purposes. Now I've got a pipe nipple with a generous dose of blue goo. I want to screw it down until I got about a ½ inch showing, because that's how much is needed for the heart, socket, all that related hardware up here on top. Now this has to be very tight. Everything up here has got to be locked to that center pipe. Put the harp on. I've got another little knurled nut. And this will keep the harp from rotating. So I orient it towards the front and draw down on it as tight as I can get it. And since this is a knurled nut, I don't need to worry about the screwdriver putting notches in it, because it's already got notches. Tighten this screw in the back when I've got the key turned toward the front. We'll get the cord in this thing and the job is finished. Now this lamp has SPT2 cord, where the insulation is slightly larger than your regular lamp cords. So to avoid having to make an underwriter's knot in the socket, I'm going to put it through this hole and just tie a knot here, which will serve the same purpose. If somebody trips over the cord in the dark, it won't yank it out from underneath the socket. Then, help me get past that joint between those two pieces of pipe. I'm going to use this little drinking straw, which I'm hoping will slide me right past it. And being a slightly larger wire, it is just a little more friction in the pipe than I would like. But it has slipped through without too much aggravation. And now we come to the sermon of the lamp. Lamp cord sold in North America has one side the insulation is smooth, one side the insulation has ridges. The lamp sockets, one side has one screw is brass colored, one screw is silver colored. The wire with the ridges always goes to the silver screw. Curl it around like that, clockwise, so that when you tighten the screw down, it pulls the wire under the screw. As I said before, I'm not putting a knot underneath here because I've got a knot down in the base. The smooth wire goes under the brass colored screw. This is for safety reasons. Basically, the idea is that trying to turn a light on when there's no bulb in the socket can be a hazard to somebody who might actually reach in here and touch the shell. And if the socket is wired correctly, you won't get shocked. If it's wired incorrectly, then might be a little buzz there. But if everything was like it's supposed to be, you'd have to go all the way down inside here. The switch would have to be on, it would have to be plugged in, and everything would have to be working. And then you'd get shocked. Now, how often people getting shocked by trying to turn on lights with no bulbs in them, I'm not really sure. But it was enough of a big deal that everywhere around the world, they had to make lights slightly safer to operate. But this is the way we did it. In Europe and in Asia, they have slightly different systems that are quite a bit more complicated. And once I get this ring all the way up here and the shell is seated down nice and tight, this job is finished. Usually having parts left over is not a good thing, but in this case, I suppose everybody would like to have a souvenir of a train wreck. In any case, this lamp is ready to go back to the customer and probably will give another 30-40 years of trouble-free service. So, this is Bronze Age for the Secret Underground Laboratory Recovery and Salvage. I really appreciate it if you hit the thumbs up button. Subscribe if you haven't already. Any questions or comments? I do respond to all. I answer all. And again, I appreciate you watching.